There's something very intriguing about the tagline, based on a true story, especially when it appears on a horror movie poster. But how much of any of these films can we really buy into? Is it all true, or just a cheap marketing gimmick? I'm Gory B Movie, here to separate the fact from the fiction in Real versus Real. With the release of Annabelle Comes Home, it seems high time that I crack open the case of Annabelle. Annabelle really needs no introduction. She is arguably one of the most recognizable new horror icons of the last decade. She debuted in James Wan's The Conjuring in 2013 and made such an impression that she got her own feature the following year. The creepy doll has appeared in more films than any other character in the Conjuring universe to date. Her self-titled film was followed by Annabelle Creation and her newest film, Annabelle Comes Home. She's also appeared in The Conjuring 2, The Curse of La Llorona, and has even expanded to the DC universe, popping up in Aquaman and Shazam. For today's investigation, I'll be focusing on The Conjuring, Annabelle, and Annabelle Creation, starting with an overview of the supposedly true story of Annabelle presented in these three films. Her story begins in 1943 when 7-year-old Annabelle Mullins, or B as her parents call her, is killed in a tragic automobile accident. Grief-stricken, her father Samuel, a doll maker, and mother Esther pray to any entity that will listen to see their daughter again. B appears and the couple gives her permission to enter one of Samuel's dolls. Unfortunately, they realize too late that they have been deceived. The spirit was not their daughter, but a demon seeking a human host. The Mullins lock the doll in a closet wallpapered with pages from the Bible and hide the key. Annabelle remains dormant until 1957, when the Mullins open their home to a displaced group of orphans and their caregiver, Sister Charlotte. Annabelle leaves handwritten notes to lure one of the orphans, Janice, to the closet and is freed. Once the demon is strong enough, it possesses Janice and kills the Mullins. Finally, the possessed Janice attempts to stab her best friend Linda, but Sister Charlotte arrives in time to save the orphan by locking Janice and the doll in the closet once more. Janice escapes through a hole in the closet wall and relocates to an orphanage in Santa Monica, where she is adopted by the Higgins family. She introduces herself as Annabelle. Meanwhile, the police investigate the Mullins' home and remove the doll as evidence. 12 years later, Annabelle has formed a cult known as the Disciples of the Ram and kills her adoptive parents. And she and her boyfriend invade the home of the neighbors, John and Mia Form. Coincidentally, John has recently purchased the Annabelle doll and gifted it to Mia to celebrate her pregnancy. As the demon is tethered to the doll, the possessed Annabelle Higgins seeks to be reunited with it, holding the doll in her arms as she commits suicide, allowing the demon to leave her body and turn the doll into a conduit for evil once more. The Forms request the help of Father Perez. He takes the doll, hoping that keeping it in the church will weaken its power. But before he enters the church, the ghost of Annabelle Higgins appears and Father Perez is thrown by an invisible force. Higgins picks up the doll and it reappears in the Forms' apartment. The demon threatens to take the soul of the couple's daughter, Leah, unless Mia gives her soul, prompting Mia to sacrifice herself to save her daughter. However, Mia's friend Evelyn steps in and takes Mia's place, saving Mia and Leah by leaping from the high-rise apartment window with the Annabelle doll in her arms. Mysteriously, the doll disappears, but it's later seen at an antique shop where it is purchased by a mother for her daughter, Debbie. Believing the doll to be possessed by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, Debbie and her roommate seek the help of Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens tell the students that they are mistaken, that the doll is not possessed, and what they are facing is in fact an inhuman spirit that is using the doll as a conduit to manipulate and eventually possess the students. The Warrens believe that Annabelle cannot be destroyed, only contained, so they take the doll and lock her in a glass case in the artifacts room of their home with instructions reading, "Positively, do not open." The real Annabelle is a large stuffed Raggedy Ann doll that's about the size of a 4-year-old child. While the doll in the movies bears little resemblance, there are nods to the real Annabelle throughout the franchise. In the antique store at the end of Annabelle, a Raggedy Ann doll can be seen in the shop, and when the Higgins adopt Janice, they give her a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift. According to producer Peter Safran of The Conjuring, the change was made for copyright purposes. He said, "You'd be hard-pressed to find a manufacturer to allow their doll to serve as a conduit for evil in a movie." The true story of Annabelle was recorded by Gerard Brittle in his book, The Demonologist: The Extraordinary Career of Ed and Lorraine Warren in 1980. Donna Jennings received the Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother on her 25th birthday in 1970. The doll was purchased from a hobby store and was likely new, as that particular style of Raggedy Ann doll with the calico dress did not predate the 1970s. Donna and her roommate, Angie Stapleton, were nursing students living in a small apartment in Connecticut at the time. The first sign that there was something wrong with the doll was that it would seem to change positions by itself. Donna said, "I put it on my bed each morning after the bed was made. The arms would be off to its sides and its legs would be straight out. But when we'd come home at night, the arms and legs would be positioned in different gestures. For instance, its legs would be crossed at the ankles or its arms would be folded in its lap." Angie said the doll would change rooms by itself. "We came home one night and the Annabelle doll was sitting in a chair by the front door. It was kneeling. We tried to make the doll kneel. It'd just fall over. It couldn't kneel. Other times we'd find it sitting on the sofa, although when we left the apartment in the morning, it'd be in Donna's room with the door closed." Then the students began to find handwritten notes with messages like "Help us" or "Help Lou." The handwriting looked to be that of a small child, and the notes were written in pencil on parchment paper, though there were no pencils or parchment in the apartment. Lou Carlo was Angie's fiancé. The students thought Lou or someone else with a key to the apartment was playing a joke on them, so they put marks on the windows and doors and arranged the rugs so that anyone that snuck in would leave a trace, but they found no evidence of an intruder. Over the next 6 months, the strange occurrences escalated. Angie found a chocolate boot on the stereo at Christmas that she believed came from the doll. Another time, Debbie came home to find blood on the back of the doll's hand and 3 drops of blood on its chest. Scared and desperate, Debbie and Angie reached out to a medium who conducted a seance. The medium told them that they were being haunted by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins who died in an automobile accident. Before the apartments were built, it was a field where Annabelle used to play, and it was there that her lifeless body was found. The medium said Annabelle was attracted to the women because they were young, and she thought they might be able to understand her. Annabelle had never meant to scare anyone and had been moving the doll to communicate with them. All she wanted was to be loved, and she asked if she could stay with the women and move into the doll. Donna and Angie said yes. It seemed harmless enough. We're nurses, you know. We see suffering every day. We had compassion. Anyway, we called the doll Annabelle from that time on. From there, things got much worse. Lou didn't like the doll and said that the doll didn't like him. He had recurrent nightmares about Annabelle. One in particular felt very real. He woke from a deep sleep, unable to move. When he looked down at his feet, he saw Annabelle hovering over his feet. She began to slowly glide up his body. When she reached his chest, she stopped, reached out her arms, and fell upon him, strangling him. Paralyzed, Lou was helpless to fight back. When he reached the point of asphyxiation, he blacked out. He woke the next morning certain that what he experienced was no ordinary dream. The next day, he and Angie began planning a road trip. They were looking over maps when they heard a rustling sound coming from Donna's bedroom. Lou went to investigate. He waited outside the door for the noises to stop, then threw open the door and turned on the light. There was no one inside. He looked around for any signs of a break-in, but nothing was out of place. Then he saw Annabelle lying on the floor in the corner of the room. As he approached the doll, he sensed someone behind him. He spun around and saw no one, then he yelled and grabbed his chest. Angie ran into the room and found him doubled over and bleeding. He said he felt hot burns on his chest. When she opened his shirt, she saw what appeared to be 7 distinct claw marks, 3 vertical and 4 horizontal. The cuts healed almost immediately. They were half gone the next day and fully gone the day after. Angie and Debbie knew they needed help. They didn't think a doctor would believe them, so they called Episcopal priest Father Hegan. Hegan said they would need the help of someone higher up in the church, so he contacted Father Cook. Father Cook then reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren. After hearing their accounts, the Warrens were convinced that what they were dealing with was an inhuman presence. Ed said there was no Annabelle and the doll was not possessed. That spirits don't possess things, they possess people, but the demon wanted them to believe that the doll was alive. Because Lou did not believe in the charade, he was a threat to the entity, which is why it went after him. First by strangling him, then scratching him with a symbolic claw mark. The Warrens said they had seen the claw mark before, and it was a telltale sign of an inhuman presence. Ed said they were lucky. Had the spirit been given another week, they might have all been killed. Ed told them they had made a number of mistakes, namely giving the doll so much recognition. Once the demon had their attention, it exploited it. Their next mistake was calling the medium. The demon used the medium to communicate lies and manipulate the women. Their worst mistake, though, was giving the spirit permission to enter the doll. He told them that demons need permission to be allowed to really interfere with the lives of living people. He said, truly, the spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll. It was looking to possess a human host. Donna and Angie said they were working on moving out of the apartment, but Ed said that would not help. He called Father Cook and asked him to bless the home. He told the priest that Lorraine had never been wrong about the nature of a spirit and that she could feel the inhuman entity in the apartment. The Episcopal blessing took the priest 5 minutes in each room. There were no complications during the exorcism. Lorraine confirmed that the apartment and the people were free from the entity. At Donna's request and as a further precaution, the Warrens took the doll with them. Ed and Lorraine decided to keep the doll in a special locked case in the occult museum of their home in Monroe, Connecticut. Lorraine said, "It would be quite careless on my part to get rid of it. Getting rid of the doll would only get rid of the vessel, not the evil that resides within the doll. At least as it sits, we know where it resides. It isn't out in the world causing harm to others. We have a Catholic priest who performs a binding prayer around the doll, which acts as a blockade. The evil can't penetrate the holy prayers that bind it." To this day, Annabelle still resides in the Warrens Occult Museum, now owned and managed by their son-in-law, Tony Spira.
The Warrens considered Annabelle to be their most haunted artifact. Throughout their career, they shared what they knew about the doll in lectures, numerous interviews, and publications. However, their story has drawn skepticism as there is no objective evidence to prove or deny their allegations.
Many find it suspicious that the Warrens released their story about Annabelle in 1970, only 7 years after the Twilight Zone episode The Living Doll aired in 1963. The mother that gives her daughter the talking Tina doll was also named Annabelle. On Sally Jesse Raphael's Halloween special, Joe Nickel, a professional psychologist brought in to investigate haunted houses, appeared with the Warrens. He said, "I've not met a house that I thought was haunted. I think the Warrens have never met a house that they didn't think was haunted." Steve Novella of the New England Skeptic Society said that when he visited the Warrens Occult Museum, Ed warned them not to go anywhere near the doll, not to touch it or brush up against the case, and he left for 10 minutes. Novella said he and his crew had a good time touching everything and mocking the Raggedy Ann doll. Then Ed returned and told him that the last person that mocked the doll died an hour later in a motorcycle accident. Despite that, Novella says that he and his crew are all still around and have had no problems. There are quite a few other accounts of visitors to the Warrens Occult Museum mocking the doll and leaving unscathed, but the Warrens have said that only those that touched the Annabelle doll are at risk of being possessed by the demonic spirit attached to it. In 2017, Zach Baggins, host of Ghost Adventures, conducted a ghost hunt with Annabelle. Spira removed the doll from its case with gloves and warned Baggins and his team not to touch the doll. However, Baggins claimed to become engulfed by the doll's energy to the extent that he did eventually touch her. Infuriated by this, Spira called the investigation off and said, "This is no joke. When I said she's responsible for killing a young man, she did." Baggins apologized and said he didn't know what came over him. He said he felt as if Annabelle was asking him for help, commanding him with her essence. Shortly after, Spira removed Annabelle from the room and returned her to her case. Since the show aired, Baggins claimed, "Touching her, I feel, has led to many strange events, and I do believe it was a dangerous thing to do." However, Baggins, too, has drawn considerable skepticism. Critics of the episode have gone so far to say that the entire episode was staged, that the doll was not in fact Annabelle, but a replica, because the danger of bringing the real Annabelle around unprotected people would be too great.
For this investigation, I was unable to find any interviews with Annabelle's original owners, nor was I able to find police reports or objective news articles proving that anyone has ever been physically harmed by the doll. So how true are the Annabelle movies? Here are my final verdicts on the Annabelle Prelude of the Conjuring, Annabelle and Annabelle Creation.
Each movie gets a movie reel rating between 1 and 5. The fewer movie reels, the more truthful the film is. Every movie I investigate starts with 0 film reels, but that ranking will go up as fictitious elements of the movies are uncovered.
Let's start with the Annabelle Prelude of James Wan's 2013 feature, The Conjuring. Now, we're not looking at the entire film, just the opening of the movie concerning the Annabelle doll.
The Warrens, Debbie, Angie, and Lou are based on real people, but Angie is renamed Camilla and Lou is renamed Rick. There is a real Annabelle doll, but Annabelle is a new Raggedy Ann, not a vintage porcelain doll. Debbie and Angie were told by a medium that they were being haunted by the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. But according to the medium, Annabelle was killed in an automobile accident before the apartments were built. Her body was found in the fields where the apartment now stands, not in the apartment itself. The Annabelle demon did manifest handwritten notes on parchment, but the notes Annabelle manifested said "help us" and "help Lou," not "miss me." These notes were also written in pencil, not red crayon, and the writing utensil was not found in Annabelle's hand. Annabelle never tore apart the apartment or drew on the walls. Debbie never threw the doll in the dumpster outside. Debbie and Angie never heard mysterious pounding on the door associated with the notes. Beyond these few exceptions, the account in the book is very much the same. It details Ed and Lorraine interviewing the students, and many of the quotes during this part of the film are taken directly from the book. As shown in the movie, the Warrens did host lectures where they shared the story of Annabelle at colleges throughout their career. My final verdict on Annabelle's Prelude and The Conjuring is 1 out of 5 film reels. There are some minor discrepancies, but what we see in the film closely matches the Warrens' account of events published by Brittle in The Demonologist.
Next up is John R. Leonetti's self-titled Annabelle film released in 2014.
The movie is set in California, but the real Annabelle doll has never left Connecticut. John and Mia Form, Evelyn, Father Perez, and Pete and Sharon Higgins were created for the film. They are not based on real people. Annabelle Higgins, as depicted in the film, is also fictitious. A medium told the original owners of the doll that it was attached to the spirit of a girl named Annabelle Higgins. But that girl was 7 years old and was found in a field long before 1970. Mia watches a news report on TV about the Manson family cult and the Tate LaBianca murders. Manson is shown on the screen after having been arrested. The murders and arrest are real events that occurred in the fall of 1969. The Manson family trial began June 15, 1970, and did make national news. Though loosely inspired by the Manson family, the cult The Disciples of the Ram is entirely fictional. In the film, the demon attached to Annabelle turns on the stove and causes a fire. There is no evidence of the real Annabelle manipulating appliances or having ever caused a fire. As it does in the film, the real Annabelle doll is said to be able to appear in different locations from where it was left. The real Annabelle doll has never manifested children's drawings. Detective Clarkin investigates the Disciples of the Ram and is the one to tell Mia that the cult seeks to summon a demon by claiming a soul. However, there is no evidence of any police involvement associated with the real Annabelle doll. Mia acquires a book called The Devil's Welcome, but no such book exists. Mia is attacked and finds a symbol scratched on her arm. The wound is completely gone the next day. This is identical to the scratch Lou had on his chest. The Warrens told him that this symbol was the mark of the beast. The ghost of Annabelle Higgins appears throughout the film, but neither the original owners of the real Annabelle doll nor the Warrens have ever seen an apparition associated with Annabelle. The Warrens have confirmed that the real doll is a conduit for a demon. However, they have never seen that demon manifest itself as it does in the movie. The film depicts the demon dropping heavy hardbound books upon baby Leah. The original owners of the real Annabelle doll also experienced objects moving on their own. According to them, a heavy statue levitated across the room, tumbled in the air, and then dropped on the floor. Annabelle leaves scribbled messages in red crayon all over the walls. Mia asks the demon what it wants, and the demon opens the windows and says, "Your soul." According to the Warrens, the real demon only communicated through the medium and through handwritten notes that it manifested. The film ends with a woman finding the Annabelle doll in an antique shop and commenting that it's a rare collector's item. The real Annabelle doll was not an antique or collector's item at the time it was purchased. However, it was purchased by a mother for her daughter, Debbie. The end text of the movie says that Annabelle is kept at the Warrens Occult Museum and is blessed twice a month. According to the Warrens, this is true. My final verdict on the Annabelle movie is 3 out of 5 film reels. The film does have some truth to it, but most of what is shown on screen is fictional.
Finally, let's break down the fact and the fiction of David F. Sandberg's Annabelle Creation, released in 2017.
The Mullins family, Sister Charlotte, and the orphans depicted in the film are entirely fictional. Annabelle Mullins appears to be based on the story a medium told the original owners of the real Annabelle doll. She told them the doll was connected to the spirit of a girl named Annabelle Higgins, who was also 7 years old and, like Mullins, died in a car accident near a field. However, the Warrens believe that there was never a girl named Annabelle and that the demon was simply using the medium to manipulate the owners of the real doll. Samuel Mullins crafts a porcelain doll in 1943, but the real doll was a plush Raggedy Ann made around 1970. Janice finds a handwritten note manifested by Annabelle. Once again, the note is written in crayon, not pencil, and says, "Find me, not help us or help Lou." There is no record of the real Annabelle doll ever being sealed in a closet wallpapered with pages from the Bible. Annabelle manipulates a gramophone, light bulbs, a scarecrow, and the bodies of the deceased. The Annabelle demon appears as a little girl with a demonic face who speaks to Janice. Janice is lifted up by the entity and dropped from the second story. The demon possesses Janice. Though the Warrens have said that the real demon's goal is to possess someone, there is no record of the demon attached to Annabelle ever having done so. The doll changes locations on its own. Esther Mullins says that she and her husband were deceived by a demon that presented itself as their deceased daughter. They unwittingly granted the demon permission to enter one of Samuel's dolls. This is similar to how the real owner of the doll, Debbie, granted a demon permission to enter her doll after believing it to be a young girl. The demon prevents the Mullins car from starting. The Warrens claim that the real Annabelle stalled their car multiple times on the drive home after they removed it from Debbie's apartment. A priest performs a blessing on the house and declares the evil gone, similar to how Debbie's apartment was also cleansed by a priest. The priest says the doll was a conduit for evil. The Annabelle doll is removed from the Mullins home by the sheriff. The real Annabelle doll has never been kept as police evidence. My final verdict on Annabelle Creation is 4 out of 5 film reels. This is an entertaining movie for sure, but it bears little resemblance to the Warrens' account of the real Annabelle doll.
That concludes my investigation of these 3 films, but I might revisit Annabelle in the future with an investigation of Annabelle Comes Home. If you would like to know more about the real Annabelle doll, check out the description of this video where you'll find all of the sources I used in my research.
Do you believe the real Annabelle doll is evil? Cast your vote in the poll linked in the card above and let me know in those comments below which movie based on a true story you'd like me to investigate next.
In my last investigation, I asked if you believed in the Bunny Man, and I got quite a few interesting responses.
Hell yeah says there is every possibility that the Bunny Man is real. Death Central said, no, I don't believe in the Bunny Man's story. The beginning of it, yeah, but he probably died somewhere in the woods being ate by rabbits. Prove me wrong, Michael. And Screaming Soup said, we've been to that Bunny Man bridge. Pretty uneventful.
Special thanks for this video goes to the horror miser Monty G for requesting this video and supporting the channel on Patreon.
If you would like to support the show, head on over to our Patreon page, Horror Addicts Anonymous. Your pledges will help me and the rest of my spooky family create videos both on this channel and on our family channel, Horror Addicts.
Thanks for watching, and until we meet again, blessed be